I believe Black Lives Matter was a failed revolution and a missed opportunity, but it's okay. It's going to give us a glimpse of what we need to do, because there were some things about Black Lives Matter that I think were very important for our culture to get on the same page on. So Black Lives Matter had the ability, right, and potential to be a true revolutionary movement. In the early days of Black Lives Matter, they were driven by a real grassroots anger at systemic police violence and racial injustice and economic oppression, right? It had no clear leaders. Positive, making it harder to target and buy out individuals. That was awesome, right? It was decentralized. Protest was everywhere. That's what I like to see, right? It made it unpredictable. And it was about real power structures, right? Initially, it was about the militarization of the police, right? Government brutality, systemic racism, right? It united people across racial and class lines. Many working class marginalized people found common cause in that, right? That was beautiful. Now we'll talk about what made it a threat. If it had continued on its original path, Black Lives Matter would have ignited a nationwide movement against police militarization, mass surveillance, economic equality. A truly radical version of Black Lives Matter would have targeted corporate control, political corruption, and police prison industrial complex. We would have went all the way. Instead, it was turned into a corporate-sponsored protest movement with no real systemic demands, right? Like they neutralized us bad, right? But it's our first time, right? Because we were regaining kind of public conscience on black issues that had been lost after Coin had showed up. The moment elites saw that the movement was gaining real traction, they moved in to take control of it, right? So let's talk about how Black Lives Matter was hijacked. Corporate endorsement and political absorption happened between 2020 and 2021. Major corporations suddenly became allies. Banks, tech giants, fashion brands, they all started making t-shirts. They all started making Black Lives Matter statements. That was the first sign we were in trouble. The Democratic Party also absorbed the movement. Black Lives Matter was used to fuel anti-Trump sentiment, but real policy change was ignored, which fueled Trump sentiment. The idiots. This is why I need everybody voted out. This is why I need everybody voted out, because I'll crash out right now thinking. Okay, and social media platforms amplify safe narratives, right? Let's talk about what a safe narrative is. Calls for radical economic reform were replaced by vague slogans like defund the police without clear plans. Demilitarizing the police force is a clear-cut process. Defunding the police is just, I could take $1 away and it could be defund. I could promise to take $1 away and it counts as defund, right? But we were asking for something real. These people were killed by something real, right? Like, and we had a shot at it. But the moment that we all started all this hijacking, that was a problem. And this was actually a new way for corporations to resist revolutions. Back in the day, they just would have paid for us all to have been shot and shit. Now they put out little statements. They act like they're on our side. And Black Lives Matter's leadership, right? They mismanaged millions in donations. They bought the luxury house instead of reinvesting in the community. Could have built a luxury house in a broke community. I still don't understand the luxury house play. Grassroots organizers were abandoned. Local activists who led protests saw little funding or support, right? Only the people who were at the top saw the support, but grassroots people didn't see none of it. And then public trust eroded once that all happened. People realized the movement had been hollowed out from within. Black Lives Matter started as a real fight against oppression, but quickly turned against a corporate-backed movement that helped the Democratic Party while keeping the system intact, right? Hold my hand while somebody else steals from you. Does that all connect? Because that's exactly what was going on in Black Lives Matter. And I need y'all to take this away from this. If a revolution can be commercialized, it is not a revolution. It is a brand. It is a t-shirt. Okay, like when you saw that color palette hit for Black Lives Matter, everybody was rocking a jersey. You should have already gave up. The streets were clear. When I saw Nike make that shirt, it was done. Right, and they still doing the same shit. DEI is literally the evolution of Black Lives Matter. The branding, the colors, all of that. Exact same thing. If Black Lives Matter had stayed independent, right, and resisted corporate influence, it could have started something truly revolutionary. It could have refused corporate donations and endorsements, could have refused all of that. No billionaire should be backing an anti-system movement, right? Focus on economic and systemic demands. Instead of vague slogans, push for police demilitarization, economic justice, corporate accountability. Like, now I get it, we were young, because I ain't know none of this shit at the time. Not gonna lie, came real early in my life. But there were definitely some, we are young ass niggas who needed to lock in. And maybe they just weren't informed. But I do think the millennial crowd got co-opted by brands, right? Right, another big focus is that build parallel institutions. We needed to, instead of doing protests alone, we needed an independent political structure that bypassed the system, right? And also we needed to stay decentralized, right? To resist political absorption. If a person becomes tied to one political party, it loses power. This is what I mean by parallel institutions. We needed ways to engage with the federal government that went around I need corporations. This is what I mean by like black groups. The D9, right? The Greek organizations were black funded at first. Our community made that happen, right? Our community needs to make it happen again. That's all that is. So the final take with this one, Black Lives Matter was a turning point because it failed because the system redefined it, right? And it let the system redefine it. If it focused on real systemic reform instead of corporate-friendly slogans, it would have sparked true change. The revolution was within reach, but the system absorbed it right before it could take hold, right? So did we miss our only chance? No. It feels like a rare moment, and it was a rare moment where mass protests gained mainstream attention. That's why it feels like a missed opportunity, right? The pandemic exposed deep flaws within the system, and Black Lives Matter expanded beyond police reform and got to anti-capitalists. We would have peaked. Oh my God, like if it was an anti-capitalist movement, that would have been nuts. Right now, people are exhausted and many don't trust new movements after seeing Black Lives Matter fail. But it's not over yet. The next movement won't be about racial justice alone. It'll be about economic survival, honestly. But like, we'll get to that. But there's a reason why everybody's on the same page suddenly. It has gotten that bad. As AI and automation and corporate power expand, working class people of all races will face new levels of exploitation. Right? So we're going to have to turn up. Right? Black Lives Matter showed a potential for mass action, but the next revolution must be smarter, right? And resist co-option from the start. A real revolution is coming though, but not because people want it. It's just because they won't have a choice.